Hi there. Have you gotten to the point where you don't think that anybody cares that you're writing a book, or that perhaps you've put a book out and you still feel like nobody cares? Maybe this will help. The reason why I'm making this video is because last week I was watching a video by a well-known YouTuber who has recently they've just let everybody know what the release date of their debut novel is, and it's coming out sometime in November. And the YouTuber, whom I have watched for the last couple of years easily, and who comes across as a very confident and independent person, and who, they have quite insights into commentary. I love commentary drama and things like that, and I've always enjoyed their content. And I knew that they had written a book, and I had actually pledged on their Kickstarter for their book because I was keen to read it. But so I was really surprised to see somebody who, from the outside looking in, looked very confident, very self-aware, and a very independent person, actually admitting that they weren't sure. They weren't sure if anybody would care. That in the days leading up to her release, which of course isn't until November, they were actually worrying that nobody would buy it at all, or even be interested that they'd put a book out. And I thought, if a successful YouTuber can feel this way, what must it be like for people who are just ordinary, a bit like you and me? You see, because I was in that spot back when I put my first book out in 2014. I was genuinely thought that nobody cared. Definitely nobody in my family cared whether or not I had written a book or not. It was more a look of, oh, okay, well, you're doing something, but they didn't care about it. They never wanted to hear about it. I never talked about it. And as I've always said, back in those days, it wasn't quite so bad because I could put it on Amazon, and because of my genre and because it was a relatively small and Kindle was quite new in those days, there was a time when it wasn't an everyday thing. I was really lucky and got picked up by readers, really with very little effort on my part at all. Of course, that's not the case now. And now the competition and everything else is so much more intense for any new release that goes up, either by established authors like myself or by any newbie author as well. Now, there are practical tips I could offer, like making sure that you are promoting your book, like you've put it out on pre-order, I'm sure, and you are promoting your book as while it's on pre-order. The idea there is the more pre-orders that you can get will all be showing as sales in one day, which does really well for Amazon ranking, and that can help have your book seen by more people. So there's a reason for that. But not sure the practical points really help in this situation, because those feelings, that worry, that concern, that feeling isolated, comes from the inside, and there is no magic fix for that. I would suggest that you turn to family, but as I say, my family didn't care. It was like, oh, good on you, mum, but they weren't interested. And this is where I turned online. And this is what I would suggest to you. In a lot of the marketing videos that I've done, I've explained how following your favorite authors online, becoming part of, reader groups in your genre and things like that are so super important. This is where you can start to make friends. Now, a lot of the friends I have, I'll probably never see in person. I live tucked down here in New Zealand, and most of my friends live in the States or in the UK or in Europe, and in one case in the Isle of Man, but my lovely JP Sale is coming to see me next year, which will be so huge. I'm really looking forward to that. But as a rule, I don't meet these people in real life. But you can have very deep friendships develop over time online. Try and when you're in these genre groups online, try and find other new authors and perhaps offer them advice, or perhaps perhaps they respond to a question you've asked, and perhaps take that conversation into Messenger, DMs, or whatever it is you call it now, your favorite platform of choice. Start communicating, start sharing these things, and I think you'll find that in most cases they will feel very similar to you. Writing is an isolating thing. It is, we actually need the peace and quiet to get the words out. So it's by its very nature, it needs to be something that you do alone. But it doesn't mean to say outside of that writing space, when you're just dedicated to getting words on the page, you can be talking to other authors. You can be talking to other authors in your genre. You can even be talking to potential readers in your genre well before your book comes out. And I would definitely encourage you to reach out and do that. Now, I know some people also recommend writing groups. Now, I personally haven't had any positive experience with writing groups, but that doesn't mean to say that you won't. My genre is, I write paranormal romances, and more recently, I've also branched into arranged marriages in a fantasy world. Those genres are not very well known, and we're talking New Zealand here, so we don't have a huge population. I do know there are other authors in my genre living in New Zealand, but yeah, I also don't leave the house. So it's not like I'm going to meet them either, even though our country is very small. But you may find that writing groups work for you. Definitely check out, if you're living in a larger town, check out your local universities or your community centres and places like that to see if anybody has already organised one, or perhaps put up a notice of interest on a community notice board somewhere to see whether or not anybody was interested. Although I don't think people do that with a piece of paper anymore, do they? They put them on Facebook. But you know what I mean. Perhaps you would be more interested in having people in real life meeting people who might be helpful. Because I do know, like, say, for example, if I'm having a call with my friend JP, after that call, I always feel more motivated. I always have, like, my brain starts buzzing with all sorts of weird ideas, which is not technically helpful if I'm in the middle of another book at the time. But sometimes just talking to somebody else who is an author just like you, whether it's aspiring or established, it can really make the difference to have those friendships. So yeah, if you're in a situation where you feel that nobody cares about you or your writing or anything else like that, then just reach out on social media and see who you can find. Because the thing is being a writer is awesome. Being an author is an incredible way of life. And I feel blessed every single day that I do what I do, writing the stories that I love to read and sharing them with readers who, I don't have a huge amount of readers, but the readers I have are so they're incredibly encouraging, and they're incredibly excited about my next releases every single time. It really is incredible. But don't let the fear or the isolation stop you from trying. Your book needs to go out there. You need You need to see this for yourself. And if for some reason that you haven't made a sale, even after your book's been out a week, then you might want to look at what you're doing in your marketing or your genre selection, things like that. There are always things that you can do to help yourself. But don't give up. That's the big thing about it. Reach out and find friends. Join author groups. Join genre reader groups. Follow your favorite authors. Do those things to try and stay connected. Pop down in the comments down here and say hi, because I answer every comment. And I'd love to hear from you too. But don't ever think that you're alone. And don't ever think you're the only person who feels that way, because we've all been there, but we all keep going. And the really neat thing about having a first book out is when you put the second book out, even if readers haven't read the first, they can still go back and buy it. The results on release day are not the be all and end all. I am still selling copies of my book released in 2014. In fact, all of the books I released in 2014 and 15 and 16 and 17 and 18, all of the books, well over 100 now. They all still sell. So those results on the release day are not, if you don't do well on release day, it's not the end of your career. It's just the first step. It's just the start. You've got so much more to look forward to. So if you're feeling a bit doomy and gloomy about it, then have a drink with a close friend, then knuckle down and start writing your next book. Because sooner or later, you're going to find your readers. If you've written the book you want to read, you will find your readers. And when you do, that feeling is incredible. I'm not sure if I've been particularly helpful in this video. I believe I went into it with one idea and then waffled on to another, and I'm truly sorry for that. But if I've given you any ounce of encouragement at all, then it was worth it. I post long-form contents on Mondays and Thursdays, and I do answer every comment. So if you want to drop a comment below, you are more than welcome. I am trying to build a community here where I'm hoping we can all help each other, because sometimes there's a lot of negativity in the information that's put out online across all platforms. And I think sometimes we just need a quiet little place where we can just be, you know what? There are authors like me all over the world, authors who earn their living, their entire living, selling their stories. And if you want something like that for yourself too, then hopefully you'll stick around for another video. But in the meantime, please keep writing, my friends. Any questions, of course, drop them down below. I'm always open to video suggestions, so please do that as well. And in the meantime, I will catch you up in the next one. Bye.